So this is going to be a video for the introduction to chemistry. Hopefully there's not too much background noise. I'm recording it at lunch. So give me just a second. So we should see PowerPoint now. So whenever we talk about chemistry, the first semester we talked about biology, which biology is the study of life. Chemistry, on the other hand, is the study of matter. So what makes up everything? Now, matter is probably a term that you haven't heard before, so let's get a definition for it to help you understand what we're actually talking about. So matter is literally defined as something that has mass, in this case, weight. Closest thing we can think of is weight anyways, and takes up space or volume. Yeah. So, when we're talking about chemistry, similar to how biology has the fundamental unit of a cell, chemistry has the fundamental unit of an atom, which atoms are essentially really tiny particles that are way too small to see. Like can't see it with a microscope small. And we typically represent them as a pattern of balls or spheres. So, whenever we're talking about chemistry, there are specific types of atoms. So different types are unique and act completely differently. So whenever we're talking about a helium atom versus a carbon atom versus an oxygen atom versus a hydrogen atom, they all act completely differently. So looking at our diagrams, our far left one here is going to be a helium atom floating around because it's a gas. You guys might know helium if you inhale helium, it changes your pitch of your voice. The middle one is going to be hydrogen atoms, which we know hydrogen is an explosive or has the ability to be explosive, considering the hydrogen bomb. And we also know part of water. Our far right is oxygen, which we know is something you breathe. So that being said, this brings us to this idea of a molecule. So a molecule is essentially any substance made up of two or more atoms chemically combined. So a molecule can be one specific type of atom. So once again, we should see our hydrogen atoms and our oxygen atoms. But notice there are two hydrogen atoms in this far left image stuck together. And in our middle image, there are two oxygen atoms stuck together. So those are both molecules. So we also see on the far right water, which has two hydrogen atoms and an oxygen atom. So that is also a molecule. So similar to molecules, we have this idea called a compound. So a compound consists of a substance with two or more unique types of atoms. So going back to my molecule example of water with two hydrogen atoms and one oxygen atom, I have hydrogen atoms and oxygen atoms, which means I have two unique types of atoms in this chemically combined molecule, which would make this molecule actually a compound. So it has the ability to be both. Another example being carbon dioxide, which has one carbon atom and two oxygen atoms. So I have two types of atoms, once again, making this a compound. So I want you to read the slide so you identify if each of these is an atom or a molecule, and then you're going to identify if each is an element or a compound. So stop the video, answer these questions, and come back. So you should have answered the questions related to these slides. You're going to turn this in as part of your points for credit for this lesson. So the next major thing we need to talk about is naturally occurring chemicals don't normally occur in elemental form because most elements are reactive. So instead, we're going to find them in compounds, which you know is a substance where I have two or more types of atoms chemically combined, or we're going to find them as what's called a mixture, which is about what it sounds like. From a chemistry standpoint, a mixture is a substance made up of two or more substances physically combined. Note, these are physically combined, not chemically combined. So I should physically be able to separate them. So whenever we're talking about mixtures, there's two types. You have what's called a heterogeneous mixture, which is a mixture with two or more layers. And you have a good example being if I have a container of sand and water. You also have a homogeneous mixture, which is essentially a mixture with only one layer. So pause the video, work through this demo. So you should have paused the video, worked through this demo with potential help from your parent. And you should have seen that our first example, we had one layer in our glass, so that would be a homogeneous mixture. Whereas the second demo that you did with the oil and water should have been two layers, so that would have been a heterogeneous mixture. So you pause the video, work through these practice problems, so you're going to identify something as a pure substance if it's an element or a compound, or you're going to identify it as the type of mixture. If you guys have any questions, just message me on Schoology, and you guys should have access to this PowerPoint as well to help out.